What happens when you list your house for sale and you put a really high price on it and you're overpriced? Well, today we're going to go take a look at a property that has been overpriced on the market, and I'm going to show you what has happened to this house and what you can do to avoid the same situation and why overpricing is not a good marketing strategy. My name's Tony. This is Run the Comps. Here we go. Welcome back to Run the Comps, the channel that values up your real estate game. My name is Tony, and I've been a licensed agent and an investor and a property analyst for well over 20 years, and I've seen some crazy things in my time. Today, we're going to go take a tour of a house that has been on the market for a very long time. It seems to be overpriced, and we're going to try and figure out what's going on here. So let's go take a look. All right, just to give you a little bit of history on this property, it is an investor-owned property. It's actually an iBuyer, a big name brand iBuyer, and they purchased this property in March of 2024, and tax records indicate that various investors or investor groups have owned this property for about 7 out of the last 10 years. Now, according to the tax records and the MLS records, it looks like an investor purchased this property in 2015 and used it primarily as a rental property up until 2021. Then they put it on the market and sold it to another investor who looks like was a fix and flip investor, because later that year, in August of 2021, this property came back on the market on the MLS, and it looked drastically different than it did previously in that year. The fix and flip investor that purchased it, they got it for a price of $280,000 in April of 2021, and then turned around and sold it to an owner-occupant buyer in August of 2021 for $410,000. Now, there's no way to know how much they spent on renovations for this property, but it did look really good when they resold it. The owner-occupant buyer then lived here for about 3 years until they sold the house to the iBuyer in March of 2024. Now, we have no way to know how much that purchase price was because it was an off-market sale, and we really don't have any idea of how much they spent on market prep to get this property back on the market, but they did turn around and get this property back on the market within about 30 days because it was listed again in April of 2024, and it's been sitting here ever since. Well, let's go in for a little tour and see if we can figure out why this property has been sitting on the market for so very long. All right, our research tells us that this property was basically remodeled, renovated somewhere back around 2021. And it looks pretty good. I mean, it's got some wood floors. I'm pretty sure these are wood floors here. It's got nice updated kitchen. You know, they've really blown this kitchen out. It looks way different than it did before 2021 when those investors owned it as a rental. I mean, this is a good looking house. It's got all the modern stuff here, big kitchen, open area. Oh, nice little built-in microwave. Got a 2-car garage out this way. Oh yeah, with some modern doors, so it brings in a lot of light. Look, that electric panel is updated, upgraded, got a sprinkler system. My goodness, this house is loaded with cool stuff. So why hasn't it been selling? Well, let's keep going and see if there's anything unusual around here. So come on into the bedroom areas, and so we've got a bedroom here at the back corner of the house. Oh yeah, got a closet here. Guess this would be the primary bathroom. Again, nicely updated, upgraded. Now, this property was originally built in 1959, and it is about 1,462 square feet. Here's the second bath, hallway bath. Got some really cool subway tile. Everybody likes that stuff. Nice countertops, cabinetry, light fixtures, everything. I mean, this house looks really good. Don't forget the surveillance equipment there. All right, we got carpet in these two front bedrooms. These would be like the secondary bedrooms. Now, I do see a little bit of, those aren't recent cracks. It's been fixed and covered up. We do have a little minor crack here. So, perhaps a little settlement, foundation settlement in here, but that's not unusual for properties in this area on these slab foundations. I mean, overall, this house looks pretty darn good. And so go back to this kitchen area. Oh, let's see here. We've got a hall closet here and water heater in this closet. I mean, it's nicely trimmed out. Looks really good. I wonder why it's not selling. All right, let's go out to the backyard and see what's going on out there. All right, so you got a nice covered patio. The yard is all low maintenance turf out here. Newer condenser unit for that air conditioning system. I mean, everything looks good. There's no external issues with this house. I mean, this house kind of sits right in the middle of the neighborhood, in the middle of the block. And so there's no like location deficiencies about it. It's not on a busy street. It's not backed up to any commercial properties or apartment complexes or anything like that. Pretty much a traditional size lot, pretty standard for what we find in this neighborhood. But again, why isn't this house selling? All right, so after taking a quick tour around this house, I'm really not seeing any property condition deficiencies or weird issues that would make somebody say, don't want this house. So what is it? Let's check out that price. They originally came on the market back in April of 2024 with a list price of $480,000. How does that stack up against the other comps in this neighborhood? Well, you know it. We ran the comps on this, and I want you guys to take a look at this CMA here. Now let's get that CMA up on the screen here. We have a run the comps CMA for you to take a look at. And first thing I want to note for you is that there have been 14 sales in the trailing 6 months in this neighborhood. And out of those 14 sales, the highest sale price out of any of those was $470,000. So the original list price at $480,000, while it was more than 6 months ago, appears that it was probably a little bit high for this neighborhood. Now, the neighborhood does have a pretty wide value bracket. And what I'm talking about there is you've got sales for properties that are similar in size to this one that sold from $470,000 all the way down to $258,000. The differences in those prices and values there can probably be attributed to the property conditions. In an established neighborhood like this, you're typically going to have some homes that have been fully renovated that sell at the top. You've got some homes that haven't been renovated at all. They sell towards the bottom. And then you got some that are just kind of average. And those are the ones that are kind of, filling in the in-betweens there. So the thing I really noticed about this group of sold properties was that only 2 of them were on the market for over 75 days, and the average days on market for this whole entire group was only 32 days. So again, why is this property sitting for 300 plus days on the market? Another thing I want to point out is the sale price to list price ratio. So under this column right here, the average sale price to list price ratio is 96.6%. So what that tells me is that most of these houses are selling at or slightly under the actual asking price, the list price. And there's probably a good chance that only these higher DOM properties, properties that have been on the market for more than 30 days are the ones that are probably getting price reductions. So that's not really going to be reflected in this sale price to list price ratio because this is only determined off of the most recent list price when the property went under contract and sold. But still, at 96.6%, homes are still selling at or close to list price, is what that's telling me. Now, the last thing I want to take a look at here is the average dollars per square foot sold, which it shows that out of this group of homes that sold in this neighborhood, the average dollars per square foot was $260, which is much less than our subject is currently listed at, which is around $290 per square foot. So the observations after touring this house and looking at some of the comps in the neighborhood is that, yeah, this house was overpriced, starting at $480,000. It's been on the market for 300 plus days. I mean, it should have sold a long time ago, but not at $480,000. Now, this seller has been very diligent in doing their price reductions on a regular basis, albeit small price reductions. Has it been enough to get this house sold? No. And therein lies the problem with overpricing your property. It's just not a good strategy to put the price way up high to see what happens. Let's see what happens. I mean, how many times has a seller told you that? Well, sellers, it just doesn't work that way, because what happens is you'll end up scaring off your buyers with that high list price, and then you'll end up sitting on the market for a really long time, and the property will get stale. I mean, look at this recent article from the New York Post about how properties are starting to go stale on the market. A lot of overpricing going on out there. And then the next thing you know, your house gets stigmatized. I mean, yeah, stigmatized. There's a stigma about properties that sit on the market forever. And when buyers are scrolling through on the internet and they look at it, oh, it's been there for 300 days on Zillow. Well, what's wrong with this property? That was my immediate thought when I first saw this property, is what's wrong with it? It's not a lot wrong with it. It's a good house. But ultimately, what ends up happening is you're going to finally sell the property, but it'll sell for less. And you're going to get a bunch of lowball offers along the way, especially towards the end, because people are thinking that you're desperate, right? So you don't want to be a desperate seller and start entertaining lowball prices now, do you? The best way to avoid all of this is to know your market. Get a local market expert to help you. And I'm not talking about Aunt Betsy just because she has a license and she hasn't sold a house in 3 years. No, you need to find somebody who's working that neighborhood. Drive around, look at some of the for sale signs, get those numbers, call those folks, get on the internet, listen to trusted neighbors, and interview a few people and talk about what's going on in the market before you just put it out there and overprice it, thinking that you're going to strike gold, because you probably won't with a strategy like that. So look at the comps and talk with your local market expert about what a good price for your house would be. Price it right from the very beginning. Come out of the gates with a good price, because that is your best chance to sell the house within the first 30 to 45 days. Don't just put it out there at a high price to see what happens, because this is what happens. Look at this. You sit up there for a long time, you make a bunch of price reductions, still not sold. Finally, take the feedback that the market is giving you. Now, I can speak from experience here, and the most agents that show your property are only going to give bad feedback. But you have to take the feedback that you get, right? So understand it, utilize it, make adjustments accordingly. And when I say make adjustments accordingly, that means paint the bold colored room if they don't like the lime green room, and fix that odd thing that everybody seems to be complaining about. Maybe you've got a deck in the back that's all broken and rotted, and they keep saying, oh, it's going to cost too much to fix. Well, just go ahead and fix it. Or you could just work with your price. I mean, you could always just adjust your price in the event of these deficiencies in the feedback that you're getting. So again, work that price, make sure your property condition is good, and you should be able to achieve a sale at a price and within a time frame that you're going to be happy with. Well, that's about all I have for you today. Be sure and like and subscribe, and leave us a comment down below. Let us know how we're doing. I like to hear those comments. I mean, keep them coming. I really appreciate that. I'm Tony. This is Run the Comps. I'm out.